good to go.
Thank you very much. I'd like to call the meeting to order of the City of Monona Sustainability Committee. Thursday, March 14th, no, April 14th. And you obviously have the roll. So I have a motion to approve the minutes from March 10th.
I will move.
Oh, give it to Teresa.
Okay, Teresa's got the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sarah. We have a motion to approve in a second. Any changes, corrections, additions to the minutes from the last meeting? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Great, thank you. Don't believe we have any appearances since I know you all and nobody else is on. That takes us to unfinished business, the 2022 Earth Week event.
Yeah. I can start out. If anyone has like last minute questions, now's a great time to ask them. At the last meeting, Molly, Teresa, Dan, Ken, and Nancy you all said you could be there to help out.
Yes.
Oh, I can also be
That's it.
there.
Okay, great.
Can you say the date again?
It's
The 23rd.
Saturday. Yeah, it's next Saturday, the 23rd, from 8 to noon
And where?
at Ahuska Park.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I think I can be there too.
Okay, great.
Great.
I will send out an email this week or next week with any details, but plan to get there a little before 8. And I think the last time I looked at the weather, it's supposed to be pretty nice. So hopefully that holds up. We had nice weather last year, so
We did. We had very nice weather.
yeah.
And if I remember correctly, when they, good evening, Ken. When we arrive before 8, I wouldn't be surprised, first of all, if there's cars that show up right at 8. So I would definitely encourage us to be there early. And second, if I remember correctly, aside from deciding who's going to stand where and help unload and all of that, we all had to be issued gloves.
Yes.
So yeah, let's, do we feel like that's enough in terms of numbers, or do we need to be recruiting some other folks?
Based on like conversations that I've had with Michelle, I think that should be enough.
Okay.
If you have a preference, like if you'd rather be directing traffic versus helping unload stuff,
Yeah.
let me know.
Yeah.
I love a traffic direct.
Okay.
I volunteer for traffic.
We swapped it around, last year among us, and it was easy peasy. So I expect it'll be the same this year.
Yeah, and I'll make sure to bring safety vests for people so you can wear those as well, just so we're all easily identifiable.
Fantastic.
But yeah, mostly just be there to help out day of.
Ken says he's happy to unload items and he has his own yellow vest he can provide. How's that?
Great, love it.
I have my own too, Ken. I just don't want to brag about it. So
I'm going to keep my camera muted for a little bit. We just got dinner out of the oven. So while I finish my plate here, I'll just be on audio mode for a little bit.
That works for us.
I have a little bit of an update, Nancy. If
on
I
Earth
may.
Week?
Yes.
On this recycling event. Okay.
Yeah. So I think I mentioned this last time, but I had met with Diane Mickelbank at the Senior Center about reaching out to differently abled and elderly people who may or may not be able to come to the event for whatever reason. So I wrote up a little something for Diane, and she is spreading the word about it. I think I asked for this tomorrow, the 15th, as like a deadline for letting us know if we need to come by and pick stuff up. And so she will be in touch with me about any larger items or, households that I will volunteer to go around to the day of probably and bring to the event. And so I'll be in charge of, making a little map for myself. I'm happy to rent a truck or whatever, like a U-Haul or something, depending on the size and, scope of this. But that's something that we talked about wanting to follow through on last year. And so I'm working on it on my end, and I'll keep you all posted, but I may be a little late for that very reason that I'll be helping gather things from different people in the community. If for example, Sarah, if you want to help me or somebody else wants to go with me for that part, if I can pull away a volunteer, it might be better to have two hands on deck. Dan, awesome. So maybe I'll swing by the event first and just check in, and then I can recruit some helpers to go with me. But hopefully people will respond and we'll have the ability to kind of lend a hand in that way and just sort of broaden the scope of the event in that way.
That's great. And I was going to suggest that Dan, thank you for volunteering. I think that's great because, if part of doing that is so that people that can't get out of their house or otherwise can't get to the event, they might have heavy crap that you're going to need to carry out.
Yeah. And I think, U-Hauls come with dollies. So
yeah,
we'll have some extra help. Teresa, I recorded a PSA. As far as I know, are we talking about the senior?
Just for the recycling event in general.
I recorded a PSA. I know that Rebecca Fox Blair had said she and her MG21 students would also record one. I don't know if that has happened yet or not. I'll make a note to follow up. I
also recorded one.
Oh, Sarah. She also said that students would be able to volunteer on the day. So we should have some additional help. And sorry, Lisa, I don't know if you said that before when you were talking about other hands on deck.
I did not mention that, but yeah, I haven't heard from her specifically
I'll
about.
follow up. I'm happy to follow up on that and just check on the PSA and volunteering, but
yeah.
Yeah. And then I don't know if they mentioned it in this week's Herald about Earth Day events. And then I believe there are multiple notices on our Facebook page and on the Sustainable Monona website, My Monona.
Yeah, we've got it up on the Facebook pages. I know MESVA is sharing it with businesses in the area. I've sent it out to some of the schools and haven't heard back about that. So I don't know how well it's going to be publicized that way. But it is, it's up on the Sustainable Monona page. It's also on the front page of the city website in our little, there's a little rotating news thing. And it'll go out, it was in the March newsletter, and then it'll go out in the April newsletter, which should be going out, I think, next week or maybe this week. So yeah, if anyone knows, we have some of the physical postcards that Resource Solutions sends out. I have extra copies. So if you have any use for some extra ones, and want to come pick them up, you certainly can. Otherwise, I'll be putting out some more at the library and the community center for people, in case they see them and want to pick them up. But it's got just the date and stuff on the front, and then the back shows all the things that we're collecting and the prices for some of the items that have recycling costs.
That I took, at least admin know that I took as the ones you handed off to me on Monday night, I took over to Sue Carr to put at the nursery school because she had requested, and I gave her two so that she could show both the front side and the back side, since it's got the detail that a lot of our advertising to date didn't really have. So does our website and everything that we just talked about have the detail now on it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's been added both in text and in I have a digital version of this as well that is also up.
Fantastic. And was there, Teresa had the question of, was there a mailer? I could have sworn that they said they were doing a mailer.
Yeah, so it's this, these postcards are the ones that go out, and they do it to the USPS has their like direct mail thing where you can choose some mail routes to send it to. So they send it to like two different mail routes. I believe it's about like 1,000 to 1,500 households that will get the postcard to their house. Michelle said they just like cycle through different ones each year. It's sort of randomly chosen. So yeah, I think that's all of the publicity so far.
Okay.
Question on the pickup route side of things, since there are some items that do have a fee associated. Do you have a process worked through for that, or maybe some funds set aside to help for anybody that maybe can't pay the fee but still has things?
Yeah, I think the best way to do that is gonna be to get them to write a check. Like when you're picking stuff up, and when you all are out, like I can make sure you guys have a list of
Okay.
the different items and the prices that they have. Because yeah, I believe check is fine. So if we can make sure to collect those. As for our own budget money, we do have the contract, I think was about $300. I think we have about $200 extra in the budget for this, like that's earmarked for this event. So if that is, I haven't necessarily thought through the process for that. But for people who can afford to pay their own recycling fees, check will be the best way to do it. I can think through a little bit covering other stuff.
That'd be great.
Great.
Yeah, and if there's things we need to check too, I know it's like checking for gas and oil, like just making sure we don't bring something in that they can't take, and then what do we do with it?
Right. Okay, anything else on the recycling event?
All for me.
Any other questions? Molly, thank you for arranging that.
My pleasure.
Were-
Happy to do it.
were you
Sorry, I'm
saying-
being-
That's right. Were you saying that are you picking up the tab for the U-Haul, or
That's fine.
yeah?
I'm right now, actually, I'm texting two friends who have trucks with trailers,
Great,
which I think would probably be sufficient. So I'll ask about that first and then
great.
take it from there, but I'll
Okay.
cover it.
Okay, great. Super. Okay, then let's move on to new business, the Memorial Day Parade. I reached out to Kelly Slack, who is the coordinator of the parade, to ask if they were in fact doing it. And the answer back as of, when did I send the form to you? Like maybe 10 days or so ago?
Yeah, I think it was sometime last week, maybe.
Okay, then as of last week, the answer was yes, they were going ahead, and I got the form to fill out for our lawnmower brigade to be in the parade. So that's really all that's happened with that so far. I think we need to identify, obviously, any push mowers or gas or electric mowers, and maybe have a couple people put mind share into the signage that should go, and the dance routine, if you will, the on the road, but and the signage that should go with it. So that we get our point across. The parade location is changed.
I just heard that from Chief Cheney Austin, that there's some serious consideration, or perhaps it has already been decided, one or the other, that the parade will no longer go down Monona Drive, and it instead will go down Broadway, right by that massive cemetery, which makes perfect sense for Memorial Day. But according to the chief, there were some security concerns about Monona Drive. He mentioned the tragedy that happened in Waukesha and how the department would not be it would not be as easy to prevent that on the north side as it would in some other location.
Right.
So that was interesting, but it's by a cemetery, it's Memorial Day. It might be a great idea, it might be lemonade. You never know. It seems unusual just because we've never done it that way, but maybe it's a good thing. I don't know.
Okay. So we'll keep an eye on that, but if between, in the next couple, 3 weeks, if people could identify any friends of theirs who might be willing to lend their lawnmowers to the cause. Again, whether it's good old fashioned push mowers or electric mowers. I know I'm going to ask my neighbors across the street if they'd like to join in or have their lawnmower join in, because they Ruth and Jean have one. So, that kind of thing. We'd like to get as many as we can. And then we can quickly put together. Is there anybody that wants to work on the signage?
So just to the lawnmower piece, I have an electric mower.
Right.
But I am typically not in town Memorial Day weekend, so mine could be borrowed by somebody if they want to just push it. So I have one to be used as a prop, but I cannot be there myself.
Great. Great. Anybody else here have an electric one that they want to? You have an electric one. Molly, don't you have like every lawnmower known to man now?
I have a pusher. I can bring the push mower. It's May 28th, 9th. What did we say? Did you already say what the date is? 22nd?
No. Sorry.
When is it? 29th.
Yeah.
Why isn't it in my calendar? Anyway, yes, I'm pretty sure I can be there. I'm just don't know how to use my iCal.
And this is open to anyone in Monona that would like to participate, right? It's just the Sustainability Committee is sponsoring,
Absolutely.
but we're inviting anyone who wants to be a part of it.
Yeah. We do, so there's
Monday,
like the
May
red,
30th.
Yeah, Memorial Day is the 30th, is right.
30th.
That's a Monday.
But isn't the parade on a Sunday or is it on the actual Memorial Day? I don't remember.
the registration form says Memorial Day Monday.
Okay.
So I think it is actually on the Monday. And so one of the things that the form, like that we have to fill out on this registration form is how many people will be walking in our group. So we do need a count. I don't know how strict they are, but like if we add in another person or two after we submit the form, but we should have at least an estimate, I think.
I don't think they're that strict.
Yeah.
But I would, I don't know, what do we think? 15 people?
I was gonna
I think somebody should reach out to Lisa Gunlock. She has one and knows others in the community that do.
I was just starting an email to her. How
Great.
funny is that? Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, great. Yep. But yeah, I think I can do it. I think 15 sounds fine. I think it'll probably be no more than that. So
And we might be able to borrow, I can check with Park and Rec and see if, because I know they have 3 or 4 and chances are they're not going to be using them at Memorial Day. So if we're just wheeling them and we, deliver them back, maybe the Parks and Rec department will let us borrow the ones that they have. But better to go with, in fact, it's probably up at San Damiano Garage since that's Jake's new storage spot. But but if, again, if you know anybody in town that has either one of those, that'd be great. Monday at 10, new route on Broadway. He's looked it up. Okay.
Yeah, I saw that too. It looks like it's gonna go basically from Menards to Pick and Save.
And the registration form does say that, I mean, obviously anyone who's gonna be in the parade would have to be there early.
Yeah.
This says like assembly of entrance is at 9 AM.
Yes.
So just
Yeah. They
for anyone who
assign.
knows they're gonna be there, just expect to be early.
Yeah, they assign a slot. And so you go to your slot. Wherever in terms of, I'm not exactly sure where the assembly will be. I'm guessing the assembly might be on the backside of, like, on Femrite, going around in front of Menards, because it's the biggest Memorial Day parade in the state. So,
Yeah, it does say the assembly's on Femrite.
good guess. Okay, thank you, Kent, and thank you, Dan.
So you want some, like a flyer that's just specific to the lawnmower brigade, Nancy? What did you asked about designing?
Signage.
Yeah, I was thinking that we would have signage, so some people would be pushing lawnmowers and other people might be holding up signs that say, protect Mother Earth, or cut down on your mowing, or, gas mowers are carbon
Yeah.
nightmares, or whatever. And in fact, I might even have some old pictures of from Washington DC, where I first stole this idea from my, although they would be like 30 years old, because I remember my niece, who's now 30, was in a stroller. So, but I might still have them.
I'd be happy to explore that. But I don't want to volunteer to make. I could find images, but if somebody else could take the helm on the production piece, technically I won't be on the committee anymore. So
I can certainly help with design. If people have ideas of like what signs should say or images to have, I can help with that.
I guess
Obviously,
She loves to make signs too, so.
I'd be willing to do something too, some piece of that. I'm just trying to think whether we want flags to announce this is the group of, push mowers, this is the group of whatever, but I like the idea of mixing it. Do you want a sustainability sign? Do we have one already? Or sustainability committee sign, or, what are we, I think that's part of it too, it's just figuring out how big they need to be. Do they need to be carried with the mowers, or,
Yeah, I'm thinking basically like the kinds of signs that you would make if you were going to a protest, like, and they could even be handwritten, but I would say definitely, we get to have Milo join us.
He's clingy today for some reason.
But I think it would be a good idea to have a sustainability committee sign.
yeah, I can look into like what it would cost to get like a smaller banner that has like Monona Sustainability Committee with our little logo on it. I think that would be good for the parade to identify like who is organizing it.
Right.
And it's something we could use at all sorts of events. So
Great
I can
idea.
look into that. I'm sure
Great
it
idea.
does.
maybe if a couple of us that have said we'd kind of do it could get together and just kind of think through what would be the appropriate things to say. And
Right. I think if you just come up with this, Teresa just suggested in the chat that people just come early and you can make the signs right there if you knew what they were going to say. You
Like a
could,
protest.
whoever-
I like the analogy. It's like a protest sign. Just be creative on the spot, make up something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we'll definitely be able to figure it out. That's 6 weeks or more out. So that's an easy part of it. I think the harder part would probably be amassing the lawnmowers. anything else on the Memorial Day parade? Okay, so that takes us to the Nomo May campaign. So I probably got more emails from constituents after reading a New York Times article on Nomo May than I've gotten on. It's amazing. Like, you know, we've been doing this for like 3 years, but because Appleton was highlighted in the New York Times, all of a sudden it became all the rage. So there you go. The power of the New York Times. And so Doug put together with Molly, put together the resolution that you all got in your packets. Thank you.
The record, I was like, you better include Nancy. She's going to be. And then indeed you were like, I was working on this myself.
Well,
So,
I just don't like to duplicate efforts, you know? But the resolution basically says it changes our ordinance to say that the inspector won't come and slap you with a fine if you let your lawn grow for the month of May, which is fine, except for I pointed out that the inspector wouldn't do that anyway, but nonetheless.
There is no inspector.
No, you know, nonetheless, it's good. It's in the, you know, it would be in the books that we support people letting their lawns go in May. And so then at the last city council meeting, I asked if Public Works and Parks and Rec would be interested in providing leadership by not mowing. Again, the idea behind Nomo May is twofold. One is it helps the pollinators, and two is it significantly helps the planet in that lawnmowers, gas lawnmowers, which is also why we're doing the Memorial Day parade. Gas mowers represent a healthy percentage, a much higher percentage of carbon than you might think, because we only use them 3 or 4 months out of the year, but they're just the pits when it comes to carbon, spewing carbon. So even getting people to cut their lawn mowing in half and like mowing every other week instead of every week, or in the case of my neighbor who, like, I swear mows like 3 times a week, if we could just cut it in half, it would make a difference. So you know, reached out to Public Works and to Park and Rec to ask them if they would like to kind of showcase, and Molly was kind enough to take it to Park and Rec this week. Molly, do you want to give us an update?
yes, I'm going to try to be diplomatic here. It was not a favorable reception of the ordinance change or the concept. And I don't see that other departments have a lot of faith in the sustainability committee to deliver on their publicizing of and marketing of the event. Fortunately, I motioned to, and the rest of the committee recommended to Jake that Woodland Park, which basically does not have a lot of mowing done anyway, will not be mowed in May. And the other area that will not be mowed is Outlet Mound, also known as Indian Mound, which we've been working on not mowing forever anyway, because of its historical significance to the Native community. But that was the only concession that Parks was willing to make. Their feeling is that they receive a lot of negative input when maintenance is not dutifully done to all of the parks, including areas where turf is not really used. We had a long and thoughtful discussion about the power of just encouraging people to do this on their own time in their own homes. But again, it was a pretty negative dialogue from the perspective of Parks and Jake specifically, that we would be able to make this a meaningful and educational event in the time that we have. I pushed back against that pretty hard. And so I'm counting on everybody here to do their due diligence and making sure that we make this happen. I think the biggest priority would be to have a sign or some sort of signage at Woodland Park
Sure.
in May that
Sure.
explains what it is, or if it just says Nomo May and then some links to some meaningful articles or a website or, you know, QR code, something. I think we need to have a person on PSAs. I think we need to have a person on putting an article in the Herald. I think we need to just really hit this from all angles very hard to prove to other departments that we can follow through on our proposals and our, you know, our desire to actually make meaningful change in the community. And this is not coming from me. I'm not trying to disparage the committee in any way. And in fact, I felt personally pretty insulted by the conversation. And this is all on record now, we're recording it, but that is sort of my recap. I was very grateful that the committee was willing and Jake was willing to make the concession of Woodland Park and Outland Mound. I think the idea is in the future with more time and opportunities for, you know, demonstration areas in bigger parks, more turnaround time for signage and, you know, again, make it a more educational conversation for the community where they can participate. I think that that is a future goal for parks and they would be willing to make that concession in the future.
I have a question.
Yes.
I wondered if you talked about the, you know, areas where turf is being used. I'm assuming you're talking like soccer fields and things like this. Is there any reason that letting grass grow that high would be safety issues for sports events? Or, I mean, is there a reason, or is it mostly just kind of we're all very used to having the lawn mowed and it's sort of a change of perception of what is okay?
I think it's absolutely an issue of perception. I don't think we're ever going to get to the point, and I don't think other cities, including Appleton, have gotten to the point where they are no mow on all parks. So, so I think part of it is the issue of wanting to make sure that, you know, fields are ready for use, sports and, you know, other fields where activities occur are ready for use. But my impression from the conversation was that public perception was the biggest issue. There are a lot of people who take a lot of pride in their lawns in Monona. And I guess in the most recent park survey, they really got slammed. The department really got slammed for, you know, based on time, staffing and other issues. You know, if maintenance was let slide at all, they got really hammered big time for, you know, not maintaining to a certain degree park system.
That's
So,
education. I guess partly.
Understood.
but I do
Molly,
think we had a long conversation about public perception and how it's, you know, we need to change it. We were fed this lie in, you know, post World War II, need to use chemicals, perfect, beautiful lawn means a symbol of status, etc. But turf does nothing for pollinators. It does nothing for us. There's no ecological function to turf grass. We had a really long and productive conversation about the importance of native plants and getting rid of lawns, period, and all this stuff.
Right.
But that was what we talked about as far as park specific mowing practices. Yes, Teresa.
That might actually be an easier ask for parks, is just to identify areas where they could get rid of grass altogether. Rather than asking them, don't mow this for a month and then resume mowing in June, because then everybody notices what's going on, right? And then people complain about it. But if you just take some land out of circulation as mowed turf and restore it to native grass, that might be an easier ask for them. And it also reduces their overall maintenance requirements.
Yes, and we talked about that a little bit as well. Like if there's a certain swath of Winnequa that is not used traditionally for any activity, could we start in May, you know, a prairie grass demonstration area, and then have that be a place where people can come and learn about Nomo May, but also can see the positive impact on, you know, on the environment, on pollinators, on the reduction of carbon use in mowing. So I think that's a future goal. Yes, like that's something that we definitely did discuss.
Right. Okay.
Yes, Teresa.
So, who's is the person that originally brought up this. I agree with the concern that it's April. I mean, come on. And we want, and we're expected to jump and do something in 2 weeks. That's not respectful of anyone's time. But we are not the ones that, this time around, we're not the ones that brought this up, if I understand correctly. In years past, we have been talking about this for a long time, and we've given up. And as Nancy said, the New York Times catches wind of Appleton, Wisconsin, and all of a sudden, everyone just thinks it's such a great idea, even though we've been saying it for years. I know my tone of voice is frustrated. I am frustrated, but so it was someone on the Parks Committee, correct, that brought this to light, that maybe we should do something about it?
It was Doug who drafted the initiative. And I will say, in his defense, or with further context provided, the idea was that this year we would not have sufficient time to do a lot of publicity. And the reason why I'm making the push now is because Parks really only made that concession with a lot of sharp words about, we'll do it, but then somebody else has to take care of the, and that's really kind of the, and I said, we care about this. We were discussing it at our meeting. I think that we could easily, make a sign for Woodland, but that's something that we can do and turn around. I think we can do this.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to shoulder any number of things, PSA, article, whatever.
Mhm.
And we can put something on the website. I mean, I think that we can publicize this in a way that will be meaningful for this year. And then I think as a committee, we can certainly do, make this a prime time project, a main event for 2023, where we give ourselves sufficient time, resources in the budget, et cetera, to make this a big priority.
So what I'm doing with this is that it was brought up by someone not on the sustainability committee. I think it's a fabulous idea, don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
But the time frame does not set up the sustainability committee for success. And the work is being asked of the sustainability committee when there is no leading by example outside of the sustainability committee, as far as I believe. I mean, there are parks, Woodland Park outlet. One of these was not mowed anyway in the first place. Am I right?
It was. I have worked in the past year to change practices of our,
Well, I'm the same side, Molly. I'm not upset with you.
but I'm saying it was up until the end of the summer of 2021, it was being mowed.
And there's no harm in starting, even if it's not the perfect time to start. It's never a bad idea to start.
Agreed.
I get that. But Jake's concern, or whomever brought it up, that there's little confidence that the sustainability committee will be able to adequately advertise so that there's sort of an explanation of why this or that park is looking like it's falling into disrepair. Yeah, we've got 2 weeks to do it. That's not fair to put it on us with the short notice. So can we get help from other people? If this were something that, I mean, we've tried this in the past and there was little appetite for it. So we've moved on to bigger things, which I think we should do. But there's no problem with staying with little projects like this as well, provided that we have the resources to do it. And if people are going to bring it up at the last minute and then expect us to do the work when we've already got plans, I'm welcoming their help as well.
Yes.
Let's everybody work together.
So the conversation went such that we as a sustainability have talked about this in previous years. Doug did bring the amendment. Okay, Doug did bring up the amendment, which I co-authored and approved with the understanding that it would be a difficult time to do a very intensive marketing campaign for this. Jake said the Parks Department would be happy to turn it around and in fact could do it by tomorrow if we as a committee, the Parks Board, would authorize a budgetary amendment to give them more money. So that's and so I said we were going to talk about it, and and I'm not, you can put the onus on me for backing us into a corner, but I was very insulted with the implication that we couldn't do something meaningful in the time that we had. And there just was not a lot of respectful dialogue about what we might be capable of doing. Parks was like, we'll do it, but you got to give us money.
For what? Money for what?
Wait a minute, they want money to not mow the grass? That makes no
They want
sense.
they want money for marketing. And I understand that, but I also think, look, yeah, and again, so I said, we're going to talk about it. We have these outlets that we can easily utilize in the time that we have. Recording a PSA takes 1 minute, literally, like writing an article, a half an hour. And I think these things are doable. Yes, we can do it all through May. It doesn't have to be ready by May 1st. Elisa, I'm sorry. I don't mean to dominate the conversation here.
Oh, that's okay. I'm just thinking about, like what it is a month long. So that helps a little bit. Like if we are trying to promote things, gives us a little more time. I know one thing, this I don't think is feasible for us for this year, but it would be good to consider for like other years, is that I know, and would be great for publicity, I know other municipalities that do this will often, they get yard signs printed and people can sign up to get a yard sign, right? And then people have them all over the city, and that's really great. For this year, I don't think we can do that, but I think we could do some like yard sign style things to put up at those two parks that say like, Nomo May, what like we're doing,
Learn more here.
Right, super general stuff on the actual signs, and then maybe a QR code that links to another article or other resources. We do have
yard signs for homeowners is the way to go. That'll have way more impact. And then parks can mow the grass 5 times a week if they want. If we get 100 homeowners to not cut their grass, that's more impactful than whatever parks would do. So
Right.
So
that's definitely the way to do it.
Yeah, so
Right.
I would also say though that, so I have on my list, I have PSAs, an article in the newspaper, right? These are all things we talked about, but I'm just, conceivably we could have flyers that could go up, in library, schools, whoever wants to put up flyers, the Facebook posts that are our usual thing. Putting something in the April newsletter, the city's newsletter. And then I want to go back to the lawn signs for a minute, because if we had the budget, we could get the yard signs turned around in a week.
Exactly.
We can, I've done this as a politician. I know how quickly they turn around the yard signs. So if we had a yard sign design, we can have it. And there are several of us that have plenty of the metal things that go with the yard signs. The posts, if you will, or the frames that we'd be, I know I personally would be happy to donate mine. They won't be used again. So, and I've got hundreds in my garage. If we wanted to do yard signs, we could do yard signs. And frankly, Molly, if you think it would be better at this point to not include Parks and Rec, and I say that just because if for whatever reason, Jake feels they're going to get flack, I'm fine to take them out of that, given the 2 parks he said. If they don't want to be part of it at all, we'll just do it among homeowners, as Ken said.
I think we need that pressure. I think our Parks Department needs to lead by example. And these are easy ways to get started. I think it's an indicator. I feel like our conversation has implications positively for the future. I think we save yard signs for next year. And Elisa, we also did talk about what you were saying, a registry of people can sign up, add their names, and then we have a digital map that shows all of the people in the community who are participating.
Too much work, Molly. You have to have yard signs. You absolutely have to have yard signs. I really strongly feel like if you're going to have a patch of grass that looks like it's falling into disrepair, immediate feedback loop, boom, yard sign right there. You don't have to have heard a PSA in order to connect the dots that, oh, that's why this lawn is unmowed. You just have an immediate point of sale, so to speak.
I'm not opposed to it, but somebody will have to do that on the committee, and I cannot do that. I'm just saying, like, personally, I can't make that happen. If somebody else can make it happen and is willing to, you know, like, I'd be willing to be the point person that distributes the signs. But I'm just saying, I think that would be a future goal versus being able to do it this year. I think the signage that Elisa described is exactly what we envisioned in our conversation on Tuesday. Have something at Outlet and at Woodland Park, and then in addition to the other means of publicity, or people could make their own signs for this year. I mean, I think the point is, I want to make sure that we accomplish as much as we can. And I don't know that unless somebody is like, yes, I'll do the signs, or I don't even know if we have the budget for that. Like, honest question, I don't know.
So we have $500 in the budget that is for marketing, printing, that kind of stuff. I don't know if someone else has an idea of, like, you know, how much does it cost to print 100 signs? I don't know how many we would want, but I'm cautious since I don't have a good sense of, like, how much it costs to print signs to say that we have the budget for it.
Well, I
this year.
bet Sarah Smith, who just printed some signs for myself, would be happy to share that information.
Yes.
The other issue is how to get the people involved and to know that they can pick up the arts, you know, I mean,
it's a big ask. It's coming after years of this committee pushing for it. And then 2 weeks before May, I don't know. I need to get over my frustration and realize that, you know, sometimes good enough is good enough. But I mean, if you're going to bring up an idea, I just wish that there would be, help in implementing it is appreciated. You know, the idea is a great idea. It's a great idea.
Look,
yeah.
I think it is a major concession that we got anything.
Okay. Well, that's sad.
Yeah.
Really sad.
And
Opportunity lost. I mean, Jake Anderson could be the hero of Monona. You know how many newspapers would interview him for being a visionary in the state? I mean, Appleton passed an ordinance, but you know what they did in Monona? They took it all the way to their parks not being mowed for a month. I mean, let's put his picture on the front page of somebody. Seriously, it's short-sightedness. And if there's no deep,
I totally agree.
Let it go.
I totally agree. And I would say that from their perspective, from Jake's perspective, he felt that he was blindsided by the ordinance change amendment as well. But again, the way that the conversation unfolded was like, it was a sustainability committee thing and they would help, but they wanted to have the committee, the Parks Board, make a budget amendment to give them money for signage and other education.
Great. So let's not, I'm gonna suggest to quote Lao Tzu, who said, in pursuit of knowledge, every day something is acquired. In pursuit of wisdom, every day something is let go.
I will just volunteer to
I'm
do
just gonna
PSA
suggest
and
that we
article.
make the best of what we've got and what's possible.
Great.
Sarah, might you be game to design the sign?
I feel
We
like I
have
could see
time.
this coming.
There's also, Sarah, if you want to design something, that is fantastic. I also know that, like, Bee City USA has a really nice, well-designed sign that I could double check that it's publicly available on their
Oh, fantastic.
website, and I think we might be able to use that, but I
Fantastic.
can double check.
Check that out for sure. Because if there's a ubiquitous branding of this effort, I'm fine with that, except for it wouldn't say, you know, sustainable Monona, but otherwise, you know, and then basically, or maybe we can co-op it and put sustainable Monona on it. I mean, if they really want to make this more of a national move, maybe they do that anyway.
I will, as I mentioned, I'll do a PSA. I will write an article that either can be used in the Herald and or the April newsletter. I'm happy to do that. And all of this is to say is I care about this committee and I have confidence in this committee. And that's why I went to bat for you on Tuesday, perhaps too boldly, just to say that, you know, I know we can do it if we focus our efforts. And I'm not trying to cause conflict, but I don't see there was just not a lot of great cooperative conversation about how to do it together. And I feel confident and defensive about our abilities as a sustainability committee to do it. So.
Got it. I hear
Well,
you.
I think that's a sad commentary about our Parks Department that they don't share our vision for sustainability. That's kind of difficult to
No,
be
I disagree with that, Ken. I'm gonna say I really disagree with that. And I just think a part of the greater message here, I think, is that we need to do our own projects and not rely on combining with parks and or public works. I think they're comfortable in their programming, and I think we can really take the lead on a lot of things that they are not doing and do it well and prioritize those projects. And I know those sound like hard words, but I think that that's the way to go. I think they will participate in this way, hopefully in a greater capacity in the future. But I wouldn't say they don't share our vision. I would just say that their priorities are different. And I think they see themselves as an independent entity, doing their own efforts.
What are the risks of us? I mean, sustainability is not something that a sustainability committee does over here on the side. It is something that needs to be integrated into every aspect of our life, and every part of this community needs to do their part. I understand we've got 2 weeks to go. Is there a risk to the reputation of our committee if we jump in and do a half-assed job, and then somebody can say, see, I told you the sustainability committee couldn't?
No. What they'll say is, why didn't other departments help? And we can use that narrative as well. I think if anything, they will say, wow, they pulled together some impressive stuff in a short period of time because this is important to them. That's my narrative.
I'm gonna suggest we let go of the frustration and focus on what's possible for us to do or not. We can bag the whole thing and just forget about it. If we feel like it's too short a time to do something of value, I personally think that it may be possible to do, assuming that we can get signs together. If we can't get signs together, then I think that probably leaving it as just the ordinance for this year probably makes the most sense. But if we can get yard signs together, which Lisa, if you can check with Bees USA, and then communicate with Sarah pronto as to what you found out there.
So
Go ahead.
I'm on their website, and they have like a yard sign page to just like a PDF, but it's not the standard sizing for a yard sign. And I also think it's actually kind of hard to read. I wouldn't say it's very legible. And for a yard sign, obviously it needs to be legible from a distance. So anyway, all that to say, I can just put one together, and that's not hard. I mean, as long as we just wanted to say Nomo May, and we can have the logo for Sustainable Monona on the bottom, and like a logo for the Bee City USA as sort of a, tag to this is where this initiative has come from, and learn more, on Bee City. But you don't want too many words. I mean, typically people are driving 30 miles an hour past the yard sign, so.
Right, maybe Nomo May, help
I
the
would leave it.
pollinators.
Yeah, so the Bee City USA logo has like, what does it say? It says making the world safer for pollinators one city at a time, and then Bee City USA. So like I would use their logo on one corner of it, and like the Sustainable Monona logo on the other corner. So
We're
they-
just protecting pollinators, you know.
Right, Ken just
Right.
gave us Green Bay's example. Yeah, I just thought I would, maybe say something about less carbon, more pollinators, less carbon.
Protecting
I just,
pollinators.
Nomo May, yeah.
Little things that, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Those do something, those do messages.
Okay, great. So Sarah, if you could do that, that would be awesome.
I really like the citizen participant. I like that a lot. And maybe someday we'll have other participants. Are we only going to put when it's just the sustainability committee's logo, it's very ineffectual in some ways. I mean, we cannot be seen as just some little hobby committee that does these cute little projects around town. I mean, I hope that next year the yard sign will also have Monona Parks and Rec proudly displaying their logo on it, as well as the sustainability committee and maybe other committees in the community. And maybe we just need to get to work on it this autumn and start the conversation sooner. And maybe that's all it'll take. Maybe it's just a matter of nobody likes to be pushed into something at the last minute. Maybe that's where the pushback is coming. I don't know. Let's hope.
Maybe they would like their name on it as well now, even though it's not being.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's just put together some clean yard signs for this year and do the best we can do on the short notice that we have. And Sarah is a phenomenal graphic designer, not to mention the fact that she's made how many zillions of yard signs in your life, Sarah?
2 zillion.
I've done more mailers than yard signs at this point, but
Right.
I actually think the yard signs on individual property owners' homes might be more effective anyways than the
Yeah,
parks. Because when you see an unmowed yard next to one that's perfectly manicured and full of chemicals, it's very apparent just when you're driving down the street, right?
Right.
Whereas if you see
Exactly.
an unmowed park, people maybe look out the window and they just think, I guess the guy was sick this week that runs the lawnmower, right?
Right. Right.
It's not as obvious or as dramatic, and Parks isn't going to stick a bunch of yard signs in the middle of the soccer fields anyways. So
Right.
I actually think the yard signs on personal property is a much more effective publicity, marketing, and outreach tool if we
Right.
can pull it off.
Right.
I agree.
If you
I
guys think we can
this year
actually
we
make
should
the sign, I
prioritize
think-
the park signage. I think for 2022, we need to make sure first and foremost that the parks that are not going to be mowed, that should be the priority. We can have a number of other signs, but I don't think we can count on the full. I don't disagree. You're absolutely right. Personal property is way more important. It's way more important. But for publicity's sake and making sure that we have something in place to get the word out for this project, my recommendation is to prioritize the signage for Woodland.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I think, so once Sarah has a design, here's what I'm thinking for like signage in the actual parks. We do one sign that is just the standard Nomo May, the same one that's gonna be in everyone's yards.
Yep.
Then we can do like 1 or 2 more, and I'm happy to put those together so that they sort of match the design that Sarah comes up with, that maybe give a little bit more detail about what is Nomo May, why is it important for pollinators? And we can have those specifically for the parks, where people are more likely to be walking by, they might actually stop and read something, and we can include a QR code that takes them to even more information. So that way we're like,
Perfect.
Great.
Thank you.
That sounds great. That sounds
And
great. That's
it
perfect.
looks like a cohesive campaign as
Yeah,
well.
that's great.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's great.
I think for getting yard signs to homeowners, if we put out an article or a public service announcement, and then just had a link on the webpage, like a Google form where people could sign up to request a sign, enter their name and their address. And I mean, there's 10 of us on this committee. If each of us delivered 10 signs, that would be 100 signs, that'd
Ken,
be
willing to
amazing to see
create
100
the
signs
document?
around the neighborhood,
And would you be willing to take the lead on creating the document and like
Yeah, I
creating
can-
that? And
I can make a Google form. I can't really post it on the website, but that's easy enough.
at least
to
you
do,
can.
you know?
Yeah, and then if you,
Can you use Sign Up Genius for something like that?
I would
I think
We can do
form
sign
is
up
a good
genius
idea.
too, but yeah, we can do a Google form. Ken, if you make like a Google form, you can send it my way and then I can include it in the newsletter and Facebook posts and stuff. If
Well, what we
Molly
should
writes
do on
it-
the Google form is on the banner, we should put the, sustainability committee logo or whatever the signage is so that it's consistent with what the yard sign is going to look like in there. in your
Yeah,
yard.
absolutely.
I don't know what the genius thing was that somebody mentioned. I'm not sure what that is.
It's similar to Google Forms. Yeah.
Okay.
The same, it's different platform, same approach. I just know we use it for other reasons, but either one will work. Yeah, and then people could just sign up saying they want to sign, which is what people do for yard signs during. Teresa, I don't know how much one sign costs.
Is it 5?
So
Yes.
to get 100 signs, it was $683 for
It's
me.
about 500, yeah. Yeah.
So if you want more than 100 signs, obviously the price per sign goes down, but the overall price is higher.
That included your metal.
No,
No.
that doesn't include the wires.
Okay.
The wires are
mine-
about $1
My
a
signage
piece.
was definitely a lot cheaper than that, so maybe I used a different sign person than you did.
Yeah, I mean, I go through budget signs. I only do union printers, so I went through budget signs.
Well, I thought that
Okay.
okay, yeah. I thought
Everything is more expensive this year than it,
Yeah.
everything, but I mean, the wires too, the steel prices are up, I guess. I don't know. Every price is up, but the wires are like $1 a piece now. So when I bought 50 wires, it was $68
Yeah.
just for 50 wires. So
Yep.
Okay. So we'll have to do a little bit of price checking since we don't have a huge budget for this.
And again, if we bookmark this for next year's budget, we can really go full bore with the citizen participation piece. And I think there will be more fanfare at the council level as well, beyond the ordinance, in anticipation of having more time.
I agree, Molly. That's true. Mhm.
So, and I will say, I mean, the nice thing about when you buy yard signs is typically they're intended to be reused. So, maybe that's not to say that we can't do yard signs this time and that we can spin them up, but if we are considering spending more time and then, have money allocated for that purpose for next year potentially, then signs that we've put together this year may not be used again next year. And, then we're not reusing materials when we, typically people could have just kept them in their garage until next May and done the same thing. You know what I mean? So I'll just put that out there, but we can buy 2 rounds of signs or, whatever we end up, if it's budgeted for differently next year. So.
Kara, are you proposing that we hold off on the signs until we?
I'm just saying, I think it's either way would be reasonable. So I just wanted to put that out there that these are typically yard signs can be reused year after year after year, and they're built for that.
Right.
So,
Just don't date it as Nomo May 2022.
well, yeah, but I mean, like if we are, doing some more intentional branding or something that we just are able to take more time with next year, then we end up, having a different design or linking to a website that we didn't have this year or something. I just put that out there.
Could we explore this idea a bit, Do we believe that, people who already plan to participate, if we're focusing on residents for this first year, would our efforts really significantly increase the number of residents that would participate? I feel like people are going to do it anyway, but I could be wrong. We could spend $600, we could spend several $100s, and then next year we'll be looking at that sign thinking, oh, we'd kind of like to make some changes to it now that we've had the time to do this properly. And maybe there might be more to the sign. I don't know. The ordinance is fabulous. I think everyone agrees we're going to do the ordinance. But I
It
think
will pass in council on Monday.
yeah.
Yeah, but think about the cachet of having the original sign and being one of the founders.
And I go to pull up and my number is a really, really low number compared to the guy next to me who starts in, yeah.
I'm gonna suggest that, that we promote it in the areas Molly's already agreed to promote it, and that Elisa and Sarah do some additional digging and research in terms of expense.
Okay.
And then we can make a call as to whether we're gonna go ahead with it. And like Elisa said, she's happy to put together the complementary pieces for the parks if we decide to go ahead with it. How does that sound?
Great. Thank you. And thank you, everybody. I am just grateful for all of you and the care and compassion you have for the environment. I am really grateful for all you do.
And
Thanks
thank
for
you.
that, Bruce, Molly.
Thank you for taking it to parks. I didn't realize it was a hornet's nest. Thank you for trying. So,
It's an interesting idea you have about charging for the signs, Teresa. I guess that could be an option, but it seems like a lot of work to collect just $5.
Yeah,
But if we put like no mow yard number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then we can auction them off for the privilege of getting no mow yard number 1. You know?
if the signs could be numbered, that'd be excellent. So interesting.
We could always say if you want to donate to the sustainability committee or something or whatever.
Yeah,
or the
that's a
two
good way to
funds,
do it.
right? So, anything else on Nomo May?
One more thing, we could get these signs now and we could hand them out at any tabling event down the road, right? I mean,
Yeah.
because people can keep them in their garage like we just said, so, yeah, anyway.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to give out all 100 right away. Even if we give out 20, we can hand out the next 80 over the course of the next year. You know,
And we can have a little tip jar when we do.
Right.
you can have the Google form just live on the website, you know, in perpetuity until Google starts charging us for the form or whatever. So,
Okay. Any other things on Nomo May? Everybody understands what they just signed up for?
No, I don't. What did I sign up for?
There's still an opportunity if anyone wants to make some, and I think this could probably. So I would ask that someone maybe want to distribute flyers around like city facilities or local businesses. If we could do that in tandem with the signage design. And then I think probably the article I write could do the e-newsletter as well as the Herald. But I
Okay.
think that the flyer piece is the last piece that I had written down as a potential means of publicizing.
Yeah, I can print flyer, just like 8.5 by 11
Great.
ones. Again, doing something that looks like the
Yes.
yard sign, basically.
Who
And if
Is
wants-
people
anyone
wanna
able to
come by-
distribute?
Who wants to distribute flyers?
Elisa, I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I'm just saying, like, I can print them and if people want to come pick them up from City Hall and distribute them, great.
I'd be okay to help distribute. I just, do you have a list of places you generally take them or?
I can borrow our list for the Friends of the Monona Senior Center concert flyer distribution and hand that off to you, Sue.
Start.
Perfect.
Can we get a
So-
second person on that with Sue, perhaps? Dan, I know you're there. You've got a Tesla. It'll be less carbon. It'll be a smaller carbon footprint. Okay, I'm putting Dan's name down.
And also, like, in the Memorial Day parade, it'll be a good time to promote Nomo May as well.
I would offer, but I'm not going to be here next week. I'm out on business. So,
Oh, yeah, right, Nancy.
Actually, Monday and Tuesday, I'm not gonna have a car, but other than those days, I should be all right.
I'll
Okay.
be at City Hall next Wednesday. And I think I will do my best to have things ready by then.
We have time. If it
Yeah.
doesn't go up right away, that's no problem.
right.
Yeah, it might be something to do after the Earth Day event next week.
Yes, I think
Right,
that's
I mean-
completely fair.
The truth of the matter is that if, somebody mowed their lawn, first of all, the way it's looking these days, I don't know if anybody's gonna be mowing their lawn in the next week. But second, if somebody mowed their lawn at the beginning of May and then they heard about this and decided they weren't gonna mow the rest of the month, that's okay too, you know?
Absolutely.
I mean, we're not looking for perfection here. We're looking for building awareness and building a constituency around this particular thing on short notice.
It'd be great if we had something to hand out at the recycling event, promoting it, even if it's just like a half sheet of paper, handbill, black and white print. Nomo May for Monona coming up next month, and we could hand it to everybody that comes and drops off something at recycling. And it could have the website link to sign up right away for the Google form.
That's a great idea.
Wonderful idea. Yeah, that's terrific.
If someone else is able to do that, great. I will be totally honest that I'm not sure I'll have time to do that before the Earth Day event.
But isn't the flyer basically just the yard sign in miniature with a couple more bits of information?
Well, I was just about to volunteer myself, Teresa, that if I'm going to be poking around in Canva tonight, I can just make a flyer while I'm at it.
Great.
I can, I can
Dan
even
and
just,
Sue will distribute, so.
well,
And
and I
I
can
think-
get, even just like myself, buy some copies from Staples, at least just for the Saturday event, maybe not like the full printing of all the other distribution, but, just
Yeah,
on the short term.
I can print some stuff if you
Okay.
can just get me the files.
I'm thinking for the Saturday event, it doesn't need to be like a fancy color flyer because it's not going to hang in a window. It can just be a
Right.
black and white thing on a little half sheet of paper that we hand to somebody. You
Yeah.
know?
Right.
Thank you, Sarah.
Sarah, thank you, thank you.
Mhm.
Those folks that come to the recycling will be motivated to participate, right? Because they're already sort of bought into the sustainability mindset. So they
Yeah,
just need a little encouragement.
yeah, good point. It's already, so the dogs have stopped barking, Dan?
It's funny, you typed that right about the same time that mine was bugging me to go outside too.
All right, so everybody knows what they're doing?
Mhm.
We're good?
I hope so.
Everybody has their assignments?
Somebody's gonna call me to let me know when they want the stuff, right?
Yeah, Sue, I'll let you know
Okay.
when I have flyers ready to distribute.
And Molly's gonna get you the senior center concert list.
I just wrote them to ask about it, so.
Fantastic. You guys rock.
Mhm.
I don't care what anybody else says, you guys rock. Thank you. Anything on, I've lost my agenda. Are we good with Nomo May? Move on to DEI discussion items. Anything on DEI?
I think our senior pickup for the e-cycling event is a good move in the right direction for that.
I do too. Thank you for arranging it, Molly.
That's a great comment, Molly. That's really true. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I appreciate it. I know we talked about it last year and then we decided we couldn't do it because of COVID. But I think it's great. And I appreciate you taking it on. I will
Rob.
say that I just finished along with in my section, the mayor and Alderwood, Black History for a New Day from Nehemiah. And as I know Molly would say and has said, fantastic class. You get a chance to take it. I would look it up at the Nehemiah website. Or Justified Anger. And you can get to it multiple ways, but it's a really fantastic class. We did it virtually. It's weeks long. Each week you have a lecture that's an hour or more long. That's all about Black history. They're real Black history in the United States, and starting with Blacks being shipped over as slaves. So, and then, towards the end, you're talking about basically what sort of next steps are. So to resist apathy and to take action. So I just highly recommend the course. I think the cost, if I remember correctly, is like what, $300 ordinarily, right? So anyway, I highly recommend it. Very powerful experience. And after the lecture, you're always in a pod. So after a lecture, there's a facilitator where you get to discuss that lecture.
See, what was that? Was that Black History for a New Day? Is that what you said?
Black History for a New Day. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
through Justified Anger, which is an arm of Nehemiah. So if
Yeah.
you search Justified Anger Black History course, that will take you to the landing page.
Yeah. Any other updates or items to consider for future agendas?
I had just a little bit of feedback to provide to folks. At our last meeting, we were talking about the urban forestry campaign and the donation process for trees. I learned, maybe you folks knew this, I didn't, that the city actually has two different processes to donate trees. One is the $250 donate a tree process that we have on the sustainability webpage, where you can write a check and mail it into the government. But separately, there's a different process for donating trees. It costs twice as much. It's $500, but you can't actually pay with a credit card through the Parks and Recs Department sign up thing. And then they dedicate the tree to you, and you can actually go plant the tree with your family. So
Right.
Hey, Ken, so I responded to that, and that's that's the microforest project that the Parks Department is looking to fund. And so we had talked about that at a previous meeting. It's a model of a European microforest planting project. So it is separate, and the cost is higher because it requires a lot of different components. So it's not the same separate, tree memorial donation. It's a different project specifically to fundraise for this thing. So
I thought it was interesting that one part of the city government can collect payments by credit card, but the other part can't.
Yeah. And
that didn't really compute for me.
Well, that's been the case for a while, simply because Parks and Rec has so many different things that they need to collect for. They have a much more sophisticated platform than the city itself does. And I'll leave it at that.
Fair enough. I guess that's all the explanation necessary.
Yeah, well, I
imagine that probably makes them the envy of all the other departments in the city government, that they get to run their own budget with a credit card account that other people can't. But
yeah,
that's the way things are. That's the way it is.
So, I mean, obviously, if Parks and Rec couldn't do that kind of thing with all the different programs, after school, pool, camp, I mean, there's a million.
Yeah, it makes sense why it's set up that way.
Right.
Full disclosure, we donated to both campaigns, but I think in the future I'll buy the $250 trees instead of the $500 ones.
Right. Well, again, it was a different project. But anyway, anything else for consideration for future agenda items?
Just piggybacking off of Ken's comment about trees, I've lost track on where we're at with meeting with city leaders to just see if there's any way the sustainability committee can support their tree planting initiatives.
I would say
my impression was that we were stonewalled, but maybe somebody else knows.
We're not. Teresa, we're letting it go for now.
Okay. Okay,
Okay, it just, the amount of pressure on the city right now is really extreme. We're in the beginning of the Parks and Rec season, so it's not a good time to talk about it. I know we started a while ago.
yeah,
Now we're also, in the throes of having to search for a new city administrator who's their supervisor of those two departments. So I just think it's high season for public works. It's high season for Parks
Yeah.
and Rec, not the
Okay.
time for that. Okay.
fair enough.
Anything else for future agenda items?
Maybe having a plan of what we could do to be more supportive in Parks and Rec, moving ahead, building more bridges.
Yeah,
Sure. We can
Sure.
certainly try.
just understand the pressure that they're under, for me, would be a good start.
Yeah.
Do
So
we have like a calendar, Elisa? Like, my own notes are not going to be very reliable, but do we have sort of like a planning calendar? Like, let's talk about trees in the fall. Let's resume this conversation so that we don't lose sight of it. I don't know if we have.
Not anything official.
Just
right.
kind of a Google calendar. How
But
about
we
that?
could certainly, no, I mean, we could,
Yeah.
Lisa, we could certainly in the future create a calendar. If that's something that this committee feels would be advantageous. That's certainly something, but again, just because it's our calendar
Right,
doesn't mean it's the other department's calendar. And so just because we want to talk about it at a certain time doesn't mean that it's a priority for other departments.
of
And
course.
that's the reality of.
I think the reality for most residents is that the time they think about trees is around Earth Day and Arbor Day, right? Which is now, which if I hear what you're saying, Nancy, this is the busy time of year for Parks and Rec and for the streets division and stuff. So they can't be bothered with trees right now. I get that, they're working on swim lessons and stuff like that and Little League and, things that my daughter is going to participate in. And I appreciate that. But that basically means that Arbor Day will never be on their radar screen. So maybe it's something that the sustainability committee needs to do if this time of year is too busy, because it's going to be busy next year again for them, right? Every year it's going to be registering kids for summer camps and swim lessons and things like that. So maybe the only way Arbor Day ever gets any attention is if the sustainability committee does it.
I get what you're saying, Ken, but I totally agree what you're saying. I guess I was thinking like maybe a way to get around that conflict of the busynesses of it all is just to like open up conversations again, like in a non-busy season, like start talking about this in the winter time or, or wherever, so.
Right.
Yeah, it could be that, maybe we have that conversation with them in January or something. It's just when it comes to actually dealing with residents, their attention is going to be on it in April and May. And I think the only way that, that interest is going to be served is if our committee does it, because, from what I've heard tonight, it doesn't sound like the other committees are going to be able to do that.
Right.
Well, possibly that's somewhere Eco Action Tuesday could get involved too, because, I think in my own experience, just talking to tree people and for my own yards issues, I think, there are certain times of years when you can do certain things, and preparation for that is often needed in advance for ordering trees or, to plant them at proper times and blah, 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 or trimming and help, so I think that takes some time, especially if people aren't really very sophisticated about it, which probably most of us aren't. And so I'm just wondering if sort of figuring out how that might work too, we could potentially support that from a library program too.
So before we I appreciate what people are saying, and Ken, I appreciate what you're saying. I guess I'm just, and maybe I'm going to sound defensive like Molly, but because I'm just going to say your city staff, your Monona city staff, honest to God, to a person is extraordinary. To a person. and the departments. Like, you guys have no idea how hard everybody in every single department works and how talented they are and how lucky we are. And I can tell you flat out, and I'm happy to do it on a recording, that Brian Gatto, who's leaving at the end of this month, is the best city administrator we've ever had by far.
Wow.
And so, you know, I get the frustration. But I just want to say that this is, you know, it's not a matter of Parks and Rec not caring about sustainability, or a matter of sustainability not holding their weight, or a matter of, like, you know, it's just a lot of people, a small number of people have a lot of things on their plate and get an amazing amount of work done on your behalf, on our behalf, taking care of this community. So, and bend over backwards when they can. You know, and a perfect example of that is that, you know, our Public Works Department and our Parks Department does all their own tree work. And, you know, taking out trees, putting in trees, ordering trees, you know, I mean, there were 30 ash trees alone still, you know, coming down in San Damiano alone. They've had to replace hundreds of trees. Take stumps out of hundreds of trees, trim hundreds of trees, you know, replant hundreds of trees, every single project. And they do the bulk of that all on their own. So they make furniture out of them, for crying out loud. So so I just want to say that it's not as simple as, you know, as you might think. And I think it's a topic for a future meeting, you know, but and if I sound offensive, it's because, you know, I've worked with them for 5 years and I know how hard they all work. And I, as frustrating as it might be around Nomo May and these other things, I just, you know, I get it. You know, I share the frustration, but I just know that they're doing a lot for a lot of people, for all of us. So yeah, Molly.
Yeah, tonight is my last meeting because I will be off
I was just
council.
about to actually extend my gratitude, but go ahead. I'll do that after you.
But I will second what Nancy said. You know, Ken, you're talking about they must be the jewel of the community, and they are. Parks has the most programming, brings in the most revenue, has the most staff. I mean, it is a huge department that does a lot. And my recommendation, and it's going to sound hard again, this is coming from me personally, not from Jake, not from any meeting on Tuesday, but I think where sustainability will really shine in the future is taking on their own projects and doing them to the max. Energy Showcase, National Night Out, every year. Bring new and innovative ideas to that. Nomo May, let's make it ours. Let's do it right. Let's do it our way, and let's have that be our project. You know, the Storm Drain campaign is hugely successful. That is ours as sustainability committee. The e-cycle event, that's ours. It's a huge deal. And if we can focus on specific projects, consistently follow a calendar every year and just do it right, do it specifically, and not get too in the weeds about collaborating with other departments or taking on, you know, a new forestry project through our department that would be duplicative of other efforts. That is where I think sustainability will be successful. And I really can't stress enough that I think we have the capacity, if we just don't get too far in our own heads about the size and scope of what we can do with our budget, with our time. And it's not a criticism, it's a note of encouragement and a note of potential future thought, future direction. Focus on several events, projects every year, same stuff, make it good, make it perfect, and have it be our own. And that is really like the message that I want to leave you with when I go, because I think where I've really seen us shine is in those moments. And I think it's very possible for us to be standalone, supportive to other departments in their own endeavors, but to be our own remarkable committee in that way. And so I just want to impart that to you before I go. I also want to express my very sincere gratitude I very much wanted to be on this committee when I first was elected. I don't think I made it till my second term. So this is year 2 for me on sustainability. And it's just been a pleasure to, work with other like-minded people who want to prioritize these initiatives, these efforts in their lives, who, push and push and push, even when the odds are not in our favor. And I really respect and appreciate all of you and the hard work that you give free of charge to our city on behalf of this committee. So thank you. Keep going. And I'll be here. I mean, you're going to see me again in 2 weeks and you're gonna be like, I thought we got rid of this crabby old bag. But you won't get rid of me. You will see me again. And I'm here as a resource anytime. And especially if you have questions. I mean, Nancy's obviously here too, but if you have questions about the process of getting things to council or working with other departments, I'd be happy to lend my expertise from my time on the council to you in that capacity. I also want to give major propers to Nancy as chair and especially to Elisa, who just tirelessly works. She is not an assertive person like I am. And she takes a lot, she does a lot, she does not complain. And she is just a remarkable individual. I know I keep using the word remarkable, but just such a special person. And we've been so lucky to have her on our team. She's amazing. So thank you, Elisa, for all you do. You are appreciated, and the work you do does not go unnoticed by those in your circle. So thank you. And I guess that's it. I'd really like, can someone bring me a cocktail? Can anybody just rush a cocktail over here? And that'll be my final reward. And eco-friendly, give me something eco-friendly that you made with your own 2 hands.
Molly, I just want to say, like I said, I was about to extend my gratitude as for your service on this committee and your service on the council, and your collegiality and your humor, because God only knows we need it. I just really appreciate everything that you've brought to this committee and to the council. And I know that we'll see you again, and that you're going to be around and you're going to be involved in other ways, but I just want to say thank you.
My pleasure. Never saw it being a part of my life. If I can do it, you can do it. So
We appreciate you too.
Anything else this evening?
Nancy, can you put that quote in the chat? I think it could be something I meditate on perhaps a little more often.
You think? I think it might be helpful, yeah. Just as somebody who knows you and loves you, might be helpful. In pursuit of knowledge, every day something is acquired. In pursuit of wisdom, every day something is let go.
Very nice. Very nice.
I'll be happy to send it on to you.
Happy to remind me.
I'll bring you a yard sign.
Yeah, it would be wonderful.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
remember, don't shoot the Parks Department, shoot the messenger, okay? She's leaving council. Just sling your barbs here, okay? Move to adjourn.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye,
Hi,
everybody. See you on the 23rd.
Keep the
Night,
mojo
everybody.
going.
thanks.
Yeah, see you on the 23rd. Keep the mojo going on the Momo or in the Nomo. Okay.
Mojo on the Nomo. Love it, love it.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.